Hey, it is Tuesday, and welcome to Shop Talk Tuesday. Hey, I'm Justin from Anoa Guy Bicycles, and thank you for joining in and hanging out on Shop Talk Tuesday, where basically a bike shop unfolds. No, that's not right. A bike shop's insights of what we do in the back shop area of the service area of your local bike shop looks similar to what my hot mess is behind me. And the conversations what we have behind that wall, because a lot of shops built those walls, I don't know, 20 years ago or so. But in any case, this gives you an opportunity to have the conversation with bike shops, bike shop mechanics like myself, also those who are just avid riders or just getting into cycling. We are here for you. So this is a safe place for all of us is to hang out and kind of indulge what goes on in the bike shop life and just kind of dive into a few local topics to international topics, from everything from my opinion. Basically, this is opinion piece, podcast-ish, show and tell, what have you. But hey, welcome and thanks for joining me for 2026. Nuts, right? Because when I was a kid, 2026 sounded like some sci-fi movie title, which it was. In any case, here we are. And some of us feel like we're probably living in some sci-fi parallel universe, regardless of what your what your perspective is in your neck of the woods. Hopefully we're going to indulge in some cool little topics today. Going to be a little more working hands-on as we do these discussions, because I've been very fortunate in the sense that I got slammed with repair work for being one of the slowest months in our area, in my region, where it's winter and it's our off season, especially the hangover after the holidays. Typically bike shops pretty much flatline. They're basically looking for life support. For me, very fortunate, a few of my very good customers have decided to front load me a whole bunch of work to be done, and that's awesome. I can't say either, can't speak even more highly with the customer community that I've built and continue to work forward towards. Oh man, I got to work on my words today. In any case, got some really cool featured bikes I'm going to be tinkering on as we do this. And as we're waiting for people to pile into the actual show here, I need to add the comment list. So both of you, depending if you're on vertical or horizontal, can read the comments and be part of the community. Feel free to throw something in the chat, questions or what have you, or just want to say hi. Hello to Patrick Washburn. Thank you, by the way, from another day. You gave me a little courtesy, and that's warmly appreciated. And hopefully you've found some good bonding time of putting that bike, either refurbished it or decide to get it ready for sale. Hopefully I gave you some of those insights. And we got Joe Channel. Joe from the Great White North. Yeah, that's north for me. Anyway, up in Canada, hopefully the temperatures are mild enough for you to get out there and do some riding. We've been very fortunate here for some warmer temperatures, but yesterday and today, especially today, the winds really kicked up, which makes it kind of tricky if you want to go out and get on those two wheels and enjoy the day. But it has been a little bit warmer in the 50-degree temperatures. In any case. Today's topic, the return of the local bike shop, LBS. That's a good conversation piece. We've had, in the last couple of years, some crazy turbulent times, and we're going to talk about a couple of things that have my perspective of how that is evolving, why is it evolving, and is it the best? Well, it's good for some, and the circumstances have caused some disruption for others to basically make this flourish again, in a sense. Because my perspective rolls back to the 90s, as you see a banner above me called Parker Bikes. That's where basically the birth of my bike shop experience started, and through a mom and pop shop. And we did we were small. We were a local bike shop, and that's before any major chain stores really hit and so forth. I mean, there was Performance and Nash Bar and a few others, Colorado Cyclists, but now it's, the mail order, magazine order type places, but not nearly the huge fruition or creation of the internet and all the platforms of the new direct-to-consumer sales, from Amazon to you name it, laundry list, from Check and Specialized going direct to consumer and all that. So it's been interesting roller coaster of a ride in the last 35 years. So, but we'll touch upon some of that, but we'll talk about how that is changed, and then we'll talk about what your local bike shop should be looking into in any bike shop. And being the service manager for several years, as well as an inventory manager in the cycling realm, as well as big box, I got a few pointers that might help. If you haven't really thought about it, which I'm pretty sure you have, but it's kind of it's better to say it and not say it and go, oh yeah, I forgot to do that. Which this is the time of year where even I is sitting behind the computer going, okay, what's all my changes I need to do for the next year? I need to update my sheets to 26. I got to go review all this. For any business, small business, and I'm it. So it's not like I can pawn all that busy work onto somebody else. In any case, Joe, yeah, it's right around the freezing mark today. Just dragged out a dugout, and another snowstorm yesterday. Oh yeah, you're getting snow. We haven't seen very much snow here, so we're kind of nervous about the word drought, which is not good. But in any case, we're not going to go into that. We're going to go in and talk about bike shop stuff. Scott, good morning to you. Oh, yeah, looking for a new set of carbon wheels for my Lightspeed with the Ram in the future. Well, I don't have anything personally as in used for carbon wheel sets, Scott, but we can discuss at a later time on, or I'll do some research and see what's out there available for your particular ride. Scott's a good customer of mine. He has a nice, sweet titanium classic Lightspeed, which he now has two, and we're going to be looking for a wheel set for him. And I might have a separate video to go through the journey of what the hell you do when you look for a wheel set. But talking about wheel set, actually, right here is the banner. This is basically the sponsor of today's show, which good news is, I'll tell you at the flip side of this one.
The Wheel Warehouse in California has an excellent selection of wheels to choose from. They're pre-built, or also you can have them custom built up to various sizes. You can reach out to them directly if you have something unique like the 650 wheel or a different style hub. Therefore, it makes it an excellent bike wheel set company that actually provides good wheel sets without breaking the bank. You will find them being very trusted and true. They really hold up under a lot of different riding conditions and so forth. It takes the standard old school wheel building practices and puts them in a better format. But in any case, this is a wheel set you'll be really love to have.
Oh no. Oh, everything's shutting down. Hello. Hopefully everybody can see me. What the heck? My everything is kind of shut down on me. Here's a bike mechanic trying to do YouTube. Let's see.
It'll perform for you for a long period of time, and the quality and the attention to detail is superb. You'll find information about this company in the description below, with also my personal coupon code. I hope you find a good wheel set what works for you.
Well, if you still see me, I apologize. We've had a colossal breakdown. Ooh, sorry about that. Something just, I don't know. Technology, right? It's great until it's not. Hopefully you're still back on. Hope you can hear me. Hope you can see me. Looks like things are doing a little bit better. I'll do a little promo on that on the Bicycle Wheel Warehouse, which you see here. They've actually, for start of the year, bumped the discount to 25% off of anything over $99 within our wheels. So if you're looking for great replacement wheels for your classic ride to new ride, that's a great opportunity to bring that out. The information and the coupon code is in the description below. So in any case, hopefully everybody can see me. Hopefully that wasn't too disruptive. I do apologize. Yeah, when everything freezes up, it's kind of weird. In any case, yeah, Scott, we'll chat about wheels and see if there's some options out there for you. Going to carbon wheels as a side note, as a used market, that is a tricky thing. There is some good opportunities to buy a good used carbon wheel sets out there, but you really need to know what to look for when you're looking at them. Hopefully they're vetted by a shop that has some warranties or returns on them, because there can be a lot of things that can go wrong with the carbon wheels and how they're used. So keep that in mind. Therefore, a lot of the carbon new wheel set companies, especially the higher end, have either crash or damage replacement programs built into place. In my honest opinion, they're great, they're lightweight, but there's a trade-off on that for strength and durability over a long period of time, in my opinion, of what I've seen. In any case, sometimes we can look at it and like, well, maybe you can get into a nice alloy strong wheel set, which is pretty close to the weight, if not lighter. All depends. All depends what kind of riding you're doing too. In any case, there's a lot of variables to that, which reminds me, I need to do a video on, well, I will be doing a couple of videos on just wheels, just to figure out how to retro your old ride, how to retro your new ride, how to get a new set, all those things. There's a lot of perspectives to it. And there's a reason why they're complicated, because they're a complicated piece of the bike. They would be very strongly would say a third of your riding experience on a bike. You got your bike frame and fork for fitting, you got your wheels for performance, and then you got your drivetrain for everything else to make the wheels go around. So in any case, hopefully you can still see me, hopefully you can still hear me. I'm going to talk about this awesome ride I'm working on right now. It's interesting as I'm doing some of the shop talk topics, and thank you all for hanging out, especially on a Tuesday. Hopefully everybody had great holidays, so happy holidays to you. Hopefully the beginning of the year is looking very good, has either whatever direction, more riding, a better ride, just having more fun with the bicycle, right? And for shops, hopefully you're finding a sane and smooth transition into 2026 and being prepared for what's ahead of us. And that just alludes to what's ahead of us for sure. But in any case, we're looking at a lot of current changes that happen within the cycling industry and so forth. And with that being said, with all those changes, some shops are going to be a little more challenged than others, and the conversation of that is basically the Bicycle Dealer Association, the MBDA, in the last year pretty much has been focusing on three main topics for bike shops and bike shop conversations. Well, one is still the e-bikes. They're still, if you're a normal, or I wouldn't say normal, if you're an operational bike shop that's a traditional brick and mortar bike shop, or the shops that you're seeing, they're still going to be relying and relating and trying to promote whatever's left to the e-bike industry. There's still a lot to be had to growth there, especially on the service side of it. But when you're looking at that, you're looking at situations where a bike shop has to fold that e-bike component, which they probably have, to multi-layers to their business. What I mean by that, okay, well, you not just have the sales of the service. And by the way, you just saw me wax, my wax dipper. I'm getting chains to get ready to be put on this super nice bike behind me. But anyway, when you're incorporating e-bike or any new level or flavor or fad in any industry of this in general, cycling is the more complicated, because bike shops have become, most of them, if not 2, 3 different businesses over the last, I would say, 2.5, 3 decades. Well, one is, as you probably know and probably figured this out, is retail, right? We sell bikes, we sell accessories, we sell helmets, we sell all that. That's one layer, just like your Walmart, right? And within that realm of certain, selling items, there's a heavy lift of service component to it. The service aspect of it is you got to have a service department to build those bikes, to be a certified dealer with any of those brands. Back in the day, now who knows what those agreements are now, but they have that layer. Then you have the service of walk-in repairs of either you work on only your bikes or all brands or just specific niches. It all depends on the bike shop that's in your neck of the woods or your shop that you have. Well, then there's another third layer of that, which is the fitting. And the fitting has become a birth of the early 2000s where the cycling industry was finally top down, decided that fit was very important, and they really doubled down on that experience, which is good because you got more saddles that fit more bums, you got better bars that fit different upper torso areas, you got different geometries of bikes and all those things basic to fit. Well, they've really put a lot of science into it, and I would say Specialized was probably the best marketed lead of this. Not to say they're the only ones that did it or did it the best, but they were probably more well known. So with using retail, which was a process of putting dots and cameras and putting computer science to it, and they have a lot of classes to that. It's a whole separate business. And working in shops that had that as a defined business is kind of amazing. I mean, there's a benefit to it for sure. Absolutely. Is there a negative stigma to it? Yes, because in the bike shop setting, those fitting departments unfortunately got a bad stigma of basically glorified salespeople to try to upsell you on a whole bunch of upper end, high end parts. Okay, what has branched out from that, and this is where you become local bike shop perspective, is now you have a lot of fitters out there, especially in my neck of the woods, where the fitters, that's all they do is fit. That's their own business. It's standalone from the ecosystem bike shop. And then you have service departments that are broken away to be similar to what I do, just do service. And then you have bike shops that sell bikes and so forth, and you have the direct consumer aspect of it too. So going back to the e-bike or adding any new layer to the bike shop, standard bike shop, brick and mortar, where they have those 2 or 3 services, you got to fold that all in. You got to train your staff to be knowledgeable in all those e-bike needs, from batteries to drivetrain usage to all of that. The selling component, being versed on all those, as well as your competition, because when they walk in and say, well, this shop is selling this bike, what makes yours different? And so it's almost adding a whole new experience. And that's been going on for the last few years, right? So a lot of these shops have adapted to this, but here's the tricky bit. That is starting to soften. The sales are softened. The battery issues are becoming more prominent. It's like we're now on the heartburn stage of the e-bike, where the sales are still going, the rebates have declined to very little, and they're still expensive, and the prices might go down, and the cheap ones are no longer available because they won't be shipped into the United States. That's United States centric. So, that might be different globally, but looking here, we're dealing with a lot of change in that perspective. With that being said, even though with the local bike shops are still leveraging and trying to push for the e-bike perspective, that is really help bolster the current bike shop ecosystems to go forward in 2026 and 2027. It's not going to go away. And now it's more double down on service and so forth. Whereas been a lot of shops have been really prosperous in the downturn of 2025 for that bike shop ecosystem, where they're they've worked on a lot of bikes, e-bike specific, and got training and be able to capitalize on that. So that's one of the big pillars that what National Bike Dealers Association was really focused on. Another one is just general service. The service departments are becoming a lot more busy because a lot of people are dragging out bikes from the garage instead of buying new ones, or they're buying used or what have you. Same thing when you have any kind of softened economy where people are not, unless they're going to buy new, they're going to focus more on the service for sure. So that's the second pillar of that. And service departments are complicated because you got to have the training. There's really isn't a strong portal of new mechanics coming in. And on top of that, a lot of business models for bike shops, the service department doesn't provide a lot of livable wages or the wages that compared to the expertise that they need to have to run those service departments. So there's a huge deficit of cash flow and importancy to that, because before, selling a whole bunch of $10,000 bikes basically made the bread and butter for the shop, but the service department was just kind of an afterthought, or has become an afterthought for the last 15, 20 years. That's flipped because right now all the bike shops are going, we need to really focus on service. How do you do good service? Well, you got to have good people, bottom line. Any case, back to that's the second pillar of, you got your e-bike, you got your service, and what's the third one, right? It's used. Used market is huge. The used market, that's what my whole business model is based off of, is the used market. And I tapped into it over about 6 years ago now, 7 now. Anyway, tapping into it and being a part of that, it's really been a really crazy roller coaster, of course, but right now how it sits and going into 2026, the third pillar is finding used bikes. How you acquire used bikes. Are you building up and putting them on the floor? Are you selling them and parting them out in pieces and selling frames? All that is a possibility, and a lot of shops have really leveraged that in 2025, but it's only like 8 or 10%. It's gonna be a lot more shops looking into that because they need to find another source of income that's offsetting the loss of sales of their sales department. So those are the 3 main pillars. So in any case, that's a good beginning segue of what we're going to be talking about, mostly in the service department portion of it, but it does carry on to the other departments within the bike shop realm, that kind of thing, as I'm going to tinker on this bike as well. Shout back out to Patrick Washburn. Thank you for 501. Question along the subject of fitting. Oh, where am I with the shorter crank length trend? Oh, I mean, yes and no. I personally have always gone a little bit shorter. I had longer cranks for my height. I'm about 6 foot on a good day. And I've always, like, back in the day, you're like 175 cranks. Now, I've ridden some bikes that are 172.5s. I don't know if I'd go to 170 for me, but that's really good for the more fitter portal. Does it give you as much leverage? Well, that's, all depends what kind of riding you'll be doing too. And the style of riding as well is another whole mix in there. Because if you're a fast-paced spinner, pedaler, rider that does a lot of shifting versus the grinder I would say would prefer a little bit longer crank arm, because they want that leverage for each pedal grind. The spinner would probably want the shorter one, and the rotation in the knees and all that is going to be just a smidgen less. Also, I mean, that really goes down to that dynamic fit when you go to a fitter, and if you're having issues of like knee pain, back pain, any of those performance enhancements that you want to do, that's where they can really address that crank arm length by looking how your body is moving back and forth. Is it a fad? Well, yeah, they really kind of pushed it as a fad, those shorter crank arms, but that doesn't fit everybody, and because everybody's bodies are a little bit different. So that really, I would really highly recommend, if you're having questions about that, portal or reach out to those fitters and see if that could be, especially in person if you can, to see if that's something the direction we go. It is a costly expense swap out for the most case for newer stuff. Older stuff, maybe not so much. If you have an older style and it's easier to switch out, like the old school 6500 crankset triple, and you want to go a little bit shorter, I mean, that might be a little bit cheaper, but you're still, even on the used market, still looking at $50 to $100, and you have to have the expertise on it, and also the wear and tear on the used product. So yeah, it's not something I just would dive in to, but it is an interesting thing that they went that direction, because for the longest time we wanted all the leverage on there as possible, but it's all depending what kind of writing you're doing. So hopefully I answered. I know I didn't answer that clearly, because it's not a clear answer. There's no clear answer to that question, because it really relates to how your body is for that kind of riding. CWIT 483. Hello from Minnesota. I'm sure it's a little cold up there. A little chilly. Our 3 bike shops in Crosby, Minnesota area are holding in strong. That's awesome to hear. That's great. A lot of little shops have reached out during comments and so forth. They've done really good, almost to a point that they want to expand. And I'm like, hold on. Because we've been having so much freaking whiplash in the last 5 years. I would really just, be very thoughtful and strategic on any move in your business going forward, and double, triple, quadruple down on anything that's providing some kind of a cash flow income into your shop to be able to sustain what other headwind turbulences we're going to have in 2026. Because as much as we had 2025, if you asked me a year ago today what we would be going through, I didn't expect this much craziness. So needless to say, here we are, and I'm glad they're doing strong. Hopefully they have obviously a strong community supporting them, where it relies on a lot of shops that are sustaining really well, especially new ones are finding that community and filling for that hole and those gaps in that area. So any case, awesome stuff. Absolutely. And thank you for chiming in. So yeah, it's been weird. and needless to say, it's been a little weird. For me personally, not so much. Because I do service, and I've noticed service is more of a necessary need to be focused on going into 25. So I just ramped that up and found a better ecosystem for me to perform better service for my customer, not go for everything that's out there that's on the table, and really just kind of been more streamlined of it, and that's really worked for me. And it doesn't work for all shops, but I switched to more of an appointment base. It's upfront, like, hey, it might be 3 to 5 days till I get to your bike, because I got to fold it into the mix. But on the flip side of that, your bike is going to get a lot more attention to detail than it is for a high-paced turnaround. So you get a better repair package out of it. In addition to, my prices are a smidgen cheaper than the local competition, especially the chain stores. So looking at that perspective, that's where I folded in that. And then when I looked at used bikes, which was the other part of my business, the full bike is really not selling that well. So looking at the bike, as for margins go, if I'm selling the frame and the wheels, and it all depends on the model, but it's shifted a little bit more, not all bikes, but a little bit more towards selling the wheels and the componentry and the frame, and providing those particular parts and frames opportunities for the community out there is a little more fruitful than trying to sell the full bike, because it's either going to sit there for a longer period of time for a turn of cash flow. In addition to, you have to bring the prices down, which basically reduces what I make for, an hourly rate, which I hardly make peanuts as it is as an hourly rate for how much I put into everything. So I can't, it's like you got to do what you need to do. So in any case, so that's for me, little bit of adjustments and that kind of thing. That's on the bike shop perspective. On the YouTube and social media perspective, which I would say is now about half of my or quarter to half of my business, depending on the day, is completely changed. I'm chasing all sorts of different perspectives and opportunities, and I found some great successes, and I've identified some great failures. And the success, well, you're watching it right now. The Shop Talk Tuesday is something that, even though I don't see like a quick return on anything per se, but it is basically an investment in my time into the future and everything else. Because, quite honestly, the YouTube social media outpour of community that I built is actually, in the last 2 years, brought in over half of my service. So how do you equate that, right? I mean, it's really hard to I don't feel like I'm getting paid per minute while working here, but I'll resonate with somebody out there that'll be willing to drive an hour or an hour or two from where I'm at, drop off a bike for me to tune up because, hey, I saw you and I've seen your work and it's awesome. So that's great. I can't be more humbled by it. So therefore, here I am, continuing to do so. And also, I found it resonates with a lot of smaller shops, and all you that are watching with smaller shops. I'm really privileged to be part of your community. Thank you for letting me be the voice in the back room, listening in. You don't have to agree on me with everything. It may be different in your neck of the woods, what you do and what you found as successes, but we're a community, and it's nice to feel that you're not alone. Because I've been in those scenarios where, man, I feel like I'm just out here in the weeds and there's no help or support and all that. And now, as either I'm providing it or I'm receiving it, it's great. It's been a great thing, and that goes to alludes to GP AS 7144. He has a shop, and one of the smaller guys out there. And good morning to you. And Happy New Year to you as well. So yeah, I have a really cool little ride here behind me. And I'm gonna go. I actually have a friggin' script for once, not just flying on the seat of my pants. I do have a couple things here I want to talk about, but I need to get kind of working on this. And let me explain what I'm working on here, and then we'll talk about the efficiencies of the shop and all that. But while I move my camera over in a better position, I'm going to just let you guys wax chains. If you're a consumer looking for a wax chain without the mess, which I'm going to be waxing a chain here in a second, in case this might.
Very popular chain process or waxing of Vital Bike Chains provides brand names like Shimano, SRAM, and various others to be cleaned in high detailed 5-step process and then waxed to your professional level with either speed chip or endurance chip, which has been proven to have better performance and better lasting events and recreational riding. It takes care of the messy process, and all you have is the clean wax chain ready to perform. Check them out. Discount code with a link below.
All right, hopefully I don't, this is tricky to do all this without being too far, because I am doing the vertical as well. So I'll try to keep myself in the frame. So if you guys are watching and not just listening, I got myself, well, not myself personally, what I have here is a number 22. They are a smaller, upcoming, newer titanium bike company that integrates 3D printing of titanium and also some other cool stuff. I'm moving over here so I can talk and watch and do my thing. So number 22 is Element 22, which is titanium on a periodical table, so put you back in the science class. That's the name of the company. And this is a good customer of mine. One of those I'm very privileged to have within my community. And he has a couple other bikes that I've worked on in the last couple of years. And he's getting to the age where he's slimming his crop of bikes down to a less. And we're looking at here one of those. This is going to be my forever bike, which I don't, that's kind of funny to say because I don't think you have a forever anything. I mean, it's like, it's good for now, for a while, you know? So he put it, I mean, this is brand new, out of the box. I didn't assemble it himself at home. And then he brought it to me. He took it for a little test ride, a couple miles, just to get a feel for it. Got all jazzed about it. But why do I have this in my shop? And you're like, well, the direct to consumer. So this goes for information for two perspectives. They're both perspectives: the consumer perspective and also the bike shop perspective. The consumer perspective, there's a lot of awesome deals out there, and I can't not say that. For bikes going direct to your front door and you're bypassing your bike shop. And you know, I can't blame you because whatever is in your area, your bike shops may not be that great, or they may be just all corporate, or you may not have opportunity to be that close to a shop, or your local shop is closed. So regardless of the be, you're still able to get high quality products from various brands that are direct to you. And this particular company, I believe, is only direct to consumer. I don't think they have any wholesalers for, not wholesalers, but bike shops as dealers. So they put a lot of stuff into their frame, and there's a lot of companies like that. That's just the new norm. We got to accept it. You got to be part of it. So how do you, as a consumer, you got a bike coming to you, and you may know how to do some adjustments. And some bikes, if it's the lower end ones, may need a lot more work to be more safe. Which I've come across a couple kids' bikes during Christmas. I was helping a friend and neighbor out, and yeah, you need a bike mechanic to work on these because putting as a, you know, Christmas Eve build would have been a freaking nightmare and not safe. Let's just put it that way, not safe for the end result. But a lot of the more of the upper end, mid-range to upper end, they've really refined the process to direct to consumer. Yeah, you can get that nice ride. You got to be mindful on some things, you know, making sure it's, you know, finished off, you know, pollution, the wheel, the seat height, the bars, those kinds of things. And then the riding of it. And then there's the whole fear or potential of damage or out of adjustment from shipping itself, from putting in the box at the warehouse, wherever it is or being built at, to your door. There's a huge risk factor, and we call that UPS or FedEx or however it gets to you. Issue. Most times, more often than not, it's fine, but you just not go there. But anyway, you get the bike, the opportunity, and you may need to have some service work or fitting done to it and so forth. There lies the bike shop component to it. Why is this into me? It's like not necessarily specifically just for the fitting of it. I provide a service that, well, you guessed it, you can see it in the background. If I'm right, you can still see me, is chain waxing. So all chains that are brand new on new bikes or what have you, or out of the package, has a packing grease. It could be used as performance. It's designed to do so, but it's not your high performance grease by any means. So even with a brand new bike or brand new chain of a box, it needs to be waxed. So, or clean from the packing grease, and then you can apply whatever high performance lube that you desire to use. If it's a drip, oil base to Teflon base to whatever, that's what we want to do. So I use a 2-pot system where the one heats it up the chain to a higher temperature, helps. I cleaned it with ultrasonic cleaner, got most of it off. Not too much because you actually get to the point where it's too much and you can make it the rust. But then I do the waxing on the chain, and then the chain gets a high performance. I waxed a lot of this gentleman's chains on, that sounds so weird, on his other bikes. On his bikes, people. I'm not a personal body waxer. In any case, or hairy bits waxer. But on his other bikes, he really loves the performance of it, so he wants that to be done on this. in addition to, I did a lot of ceramic coatings on all his other bikes, and he's really a true believer on ceramic coating because he does done it on his cars and his boat. So he's into that Kool-Aid, and then there's for me, I have to provide a static fit. I decided to make that a package. So for those bike shops out there, I made that like a new bike enhancement package. You get a better drivetrain shifting, you get a better protection of that fancy paint and all that. I mean, come on. And then a little static fit to go with that. However that fits in your particular business model, you might want to consider that. Maybe it's just two of those things, not all three, whatever. But that helps you as a bike shop to be relevant to direct-to-consumer purchases. And that also gives you an opportunity for you and the customer to develop that community. Like, oh, yeah, you bought that Canyon. I don't care where you bought it from. I did some service work on it. Now I'm your shop go-to when you have any issues or whatever. And yeah, you may pick up a bottle or some nutrition or whatever while you're there and be a part of that. And people, even though they do buy mostly or a lot from bike shops, they still want that community feel. So, needless to say, not just from events, but from shops. And I've been in a lot of cool shops. This last year, there's Swanee Cycles in Las Vegas. Really cool shop. You just want to go in and hang out and talk to the guys. They're great people. And there's a few gals there too. I mean, there's great people, great community feel vibe. And there's also Pedal Pour in Las Vegas. They have a little coffee shop with a bike shop. Really cool. And it's like, those are the kind of places where you just like, this is kind of cool to hang out, and they're like community based. And then you have those smaller shops like Precision E-Bike, which is in Fort Collins, will help out with all your e-bike questions and that kind of thing. Very personable. He's like one dude in a shop like me kind of thing. So needless to say, that it can provide an extra layer. Not like I've done a lot of these right out of the gate when I did it, but I'm now, when people are noting that and had other work, like, oh, I want you to have, I'm buying a new bike. You've been doing service on my work, on my bike. So I'm like, that just gets them back in. So yeah, he's going to have this. And then when he picks up this bike, he's going to swap it out with one of his other ones. Like, oh yeah, because January and February is a great time to get all your rides ready to go for the season. Where if it's in your neck of the woods, the off season 2 months is a great opportunity. And a lot of bike shops will have discounts on that. And especially in my neck of the woods, pretty much everybody is like 20% off, 30% off. I wanted to discount this, discount that. And that's fine and dandy because they need to have as many people come in to have service work done to keep them rolling. My business model is a little different, not huge, but a little bit different. And for products for ceramic coating, if you're a shop, if you're wondering, or even a consumer, if you want to do it yourself, there's a plethora of videos out there for car detailing, and a few of mine in my library too you can take a look at for bike specific, of using some of these products to polish it, to detail it, to protect it with ceramic coating and so forth. I use lithium products mainly, as well as atoms. I do have link and videos below in the description, so if you want to know more about that. Why is the big deal? UV protection. It sheds the dirt and water and mud off of the frame, and it gives you a little added protection on that fancy paint job, especially if it's like one of those beautiful ones. And I had a short on a video of a Klein, and pretty beautiful green, the blue fade. I mean, you definitely want to protect that. And if you've seen some of the faded ones, which I have one over here, this K2, the fork is turned yellow or brownish versus the rest of the white used to be white. If it had that protection, it may have not have stained, that kind of thing. In any case, that's where we're talking about how adding a service department, we'll talk about more efficiencies of the service department and so forth, what you're looking into here soon. But back to the chat. Levi, 4,500. Thank you for chatting. Thank you for coming in, hanging out. I do the same thing by fixing up our local mountain bike trails. Instead of spending G money, a grand of money on advertising, I've been been renting machines and buying lumber and fixing up mountain bike trails. Nice, good for you. I lead group rides. That's awesome. That's awesome. You're just part of the community, building those trails. How to go? I mean, every time I did a trail ride, especially here, I just have to give it to all the people that built up those trails over the years. It's like they pay it forward, and it's something that it could be used for years and years and years, and huge amount of community. Oh, everybody knows you that has the shop that fixes up the bike trails. That's awesome. That's a great, like, if you're going to be known for something, it's better than that. I've been known for a lot of things, but that's one of the better. Yeah, money's spent and better, in your opinion. Absolutely. And also for me, I mean, my advertising budget just by default is mostly just spending time, doing videos and so forth. For your case, if you're doing videos on that, you can leverage that and put on your website and social media pages and so forth. So or even on your Google account, business account, where somebody's like looking for their new bike to fix a bike or what have you, and they see all that cool stuff that you're doing, that's the warm and fuzzies. That's like the giving the hug. And honestly, everybody wants the hug. I mean, honestly, if you want it or not, you want it when you're a bike customer going into a shop. Like, I want to be given the hug, not like, oh, you are come back with more money, kind of thing. In any case, thank you for bringing that up. And yes, trail maintenance, community building, being part of all of that, being part of the city council, doing more bike paths and all those things is huge. You can really leverage that, as well as charitable events like Bikes for Kids and for Christmas that we just came off of, or outreach of that perspective of name any disease, they have a cycling ride that relates to it, from the MS, which I'm really a part of, been with for years, to cancer, to everything. I mean, it's always a way of reaching out. And by example, this bike I'm working right now is for a customer that found me while I was doing the MS mechanical support. That's given me, just from him alone, about 5 or 6 tune-ups in the last couple of years of really, really, really nice bikes that I'm not usually working on. So it's kind of like, that's awesome. I feel privileged that he entrusts me to do stuff, and apparently I do okay, because he's come back, and he's be continuing to come back. So that's awesome. You can never. That's another thing too. I'm more humble in my older age. You just can't assume that they're always going to come back. You want to make sure that you do the right things every time. Give them the acknowledgments, the justification, the 100%, 110% A game every time you're interacting with a customer. That's a little bit easier for me because everything's appointment based. So it's like, I got to pump myself up for the show with the customer. When you have a brick and mortar store, you have people coming in and out, and it is wearing, it is taxing, believe me. I understand, I've been there, long hours, people are coming in, you're trying to do one thing, and it's taking you all day to get that one thing done because the phone's constantly ringing, people are coming in, other employees are always asking for other help because they just can't seem to figure it out themselves. Not to be negative, but it just feels like you're being pulled every direction. My life here, though, is, I'll be interrupted by my daughter, but that's controllable. But my scenario is a little bit better in that aspect, which made it a little bit, is a happier place for me. Been working, believe me, I put my time in. I mean, I put in over 30 years of that. So this is like you better put them away for a while or he gets really grouchy. So I haven't been grouchy in a while in that aspect. So it's been good. So, but yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of different things you can do as a shop. There's a lot of different things you can do as a community cyclist to help out with all those things too. And that's, you find some great places. Either find new rides, new people to ride with, and new community. It's great. It's a win-win, and it really helps you to have those communities. If you don't have that, either at home or what have you, it's a good place to reach out and be a part of something for sure. Absolutely. Susan 9861, thank you for coming in. Miyagi, wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. Yes, waxing chains has become a huge thing within the industry. So if you're not doing it as a shop, you're missing the boat. Just saying. However you want to do it, whatever Kool-Aid you want to go with, or whatever, it's here to stay. And there's the science behind it, which is even better. It's not like we're just coming up with a pet rock for somebody to buy in the cycling industry. It's actually a thing that works really well. Doing it for several years myself, even tried with my own blends for fun, and realized, why complicate my life? So just stick with what's out there. And there we go. Yeah, and when you get the waxer going, you do multiple chains as much as you can and get those things going. But in any case, it's, it works well. It's clean, Anyways, I can't, if you're into it, that's great. When you're in, If you're on the fence, it's clean, it's run smooth. There's a little adjustment in how you do what your current lubing your drivetrain, but the science behind it, the testing behind it, I should say, less wear, better performance, and all those things are great. But if you're not into it, that's fine. But needless to say, the one thing that we all can agree on, the factory grease from a new chain is no bueno. You want to get that stuff off when you're ready. Throw on whatever high-performance lube that you bought from the salesperson or you bought offline, then apply it, because that's all you're going to do if you don't do that cleaning first. And there's a lot of videos out there to do that. Some of them simple. Just put in a jar of solution from like silica or what have you, and it just strips it to like white gas or whatever. But you need to get most of that stuff off to apply that performance lube, because all you're doing is cross-contaminating different materials, and that just makes it a hot mess that you're going to have to clean up later, or have your bike shop do the whole drivetrain clean, because that crap gets everywhere and it gets cakey. Case in point, I had to basically scrape these jockey pulley wheels off of another bike I'm working on with a screwdriver to get all the crap off of it before I could put in an ultrasonic cleaner, because the ultrasonic cleaner didn't have a chance of getting that caked on concrete. So in any case. Woo! Oh, good question, Susan. Is waxing that much better for winter riding? I dread seeing some of my customers' e-bikes who ride in the winter. I really haven't, I don't ride in a lot of contaminated stuff anymore per se with my wax chains, but I've seen where it still works pretty well. Has a pretty good performance to it. So I wouldn't shy away of like, oh, it's not good for winter, although some people have mentioned that, but it all depends. You just don't know the full story. I would do maybe a more endurance blend, something that's a little, holds on a little bit more, a little bit thicker, versus a high performance which sheds a little bit faster, because you want that. And also you can just do the, once it's waxed on there, you need to coach your customers to take wax specific lube, like the silica one, and there's like Squirt and various other ones out there. I think there's another one. Well, I know there's a one from Connex too, which is Optimum wax. It's the same bottle, whatever. There's just reblended, but these are wax, wax with infused with, well, silica says 10% emulsify or mulched or whatever they want to call the process with water. So when it evaporates, it's all left is just the tungsten sulfide and paraffin wax combination. So it's just more of a training of, yeah, you may need to apply it more, but it's going to shed whatever excess versus needing to wipe off. So if they are starting to get that squeaky chain and what have you, you may need to do this, if they're doing bigger races and so forth, maybe have a little bottle of this at the, be able to put it on. It is recommended to let it dry on there, but hey, if you're in a hot mess and you need to go, I'd still just keep replenishing with this. And that way you're still getting those added benefits and protections and that kind of thing. But great question. Any of you up north or in winter riding and so forth that do wax chains, do comment. I mean, I'm not the end-all be-all knowledge of wax chains. I just what I've seen and what with conditions and so forth. It just does as good as in those contaminants, and you're not. And then you just have the ease of keeping your drivetrain cleaner when you need to do the washing process and so forth. That's where the ceramic coating of your frame and bike parts help shed all that gunk off too, that kind of thing. In any case, though, that's just part of all of that. So what I did to this bike, besides the ceramic coating the frame, I did it in three, what they called stacks. I did 3 stacks, which means I put on a coat, let it sit for, recommended over 4 hours for this specific product for it to cure, and then you can do another layer to kind of buff it up. And then I waited overnight and did a 3rd layer this morning, so it's been 3 layer stack. And what's nice about that for me is if I do it, and I do hit all the parts twice each time I do it. Reason being is I'm making sure I'm covering everything. And if I did miss it on the first one or the second one, at least got covered on the 3rd one. So, and what's different between cars and bikes, there's a lot of different angles. There's a lot of angles to the bike frame. So to get all of it, you have to kind of do it 3 times to ensure that the whole bike has been done. As I was doing that, I cleaned off the surface, meaning basically rubbing alcohol, and then applied a different type of wax or sealant, basically. The sealant squeal from lithium, which has some of that ceramic properties, but it does a little bit better on mixed metals components. So I did that on the wheels, made double check to make sure they were true and they didn't get bumped out of whack while they're in shipping, and all that. And took the rotor off, cleaned it, put it all back on, torqued to specification. Same thing with the cassette, make sure it's on there, torqued at the correct torque value on that, and put some nice Armor All on the tires. This does make it a little slick, but here, when I do a test ride, it's chip seal, so basically that slickness is worn off on the first test ride, so it's not a question of safety on that. Other thing I took the bottle cages that were actually, they are a number 22 titaniums, super lightweight. Took those off so I can get access to the frame. Also, I coated these too as well. And I did coat the parts on like the derailleurs, the external calipers of the hydraulic brakes, stems and bars and so forth. Because this has been clamped the whole time, so once I get it down off the floor, I'm going to ceramic coat and clean the seat post and get that all taken care of. And that'll be a little bit easier to lift once it's off of the stand. It doesn't have to be clamped to it. So that's part of the process. And then get that wax chain on there and shed a little bit. And then the guy is off to the races and ready to enjoy his brand new titanium ride. Be very interesting to see what he thinks about this one because he has a moots. So it's really apples to apples comparison kind of thing. But this has the newer internal routing and all that kinds of fun stuff in any case. So, and I do a 2-pot with two different temperatures. There's still some debate going on if lower temperature or whatever. I just found this works for me. And it works for the duration or the usage for my customers, is because I've seen their bikes come back and have their chains re-waxed, and seeing how many miles they've been getting out of it seems to work pretty well. I do a little bit cooler temperature on the second dip, so therefore it adheres a little bit more to it. Oh, let it drip in there. Then it has a capturing system on that, but I don't have the fancy silica one. I just found myself a wax warmer with a digital reader off of Amazon, and I've had that for a couple of years and about a third of the price. So, and plus it's a 2-pot versus 1. It works. It works for me. In any case, so while that's doing on that, where are you, Newton meters? Okay. So, by the way, looking at Park Tools, our social media well, not really influencer, educator of bike tools from Park, Calvin. I'm sure you've seen a video of his if you watched anything bike repair wise or seen videos pop up with him. Older guy with a mustache from Park Tools, Calvin. He's retiring. So good for him. Good run. He's been doing it for like over 20 years or something like that with Park. Provided a huge library, which is fantastic resource for everyone for bikes. And that's really cool. It's really, really cool that he's gotten to the point where he can retire and do more riding like the rest of us wants to do more riding. So shout out to him. So here's the question of the day. What pops into my mind: who's replacing? Who's going to be the next Calvin? I mean, not necessarily at Park Tool. It doesn't have to be at Park Tool. Could be anywhere in that realm. I mean, there's going to be somebody out there that fills that technical niche. Oh, I'm going to try to center myself for your verticals, people. Okay. To do all the tech, especially the newer stuff, and maybe some of the older stuff. He did a lot of good videos on older stuff, too. Like, with old quill stems and threaded headsets and that kind of thing back in the day. So, in any case, who's going to fill in? Is it going to be me? I would be so privileged if it was. I don't know. I am starting to get a concept and a plan. I got a plan for my other channel, This Old Bike. Started doing a little more stuff on there, posting wise and so forth. And therefore, that I was already going to plan to do that. It's just been, for me, just so busy doing all the other stuff, been hard up posting. But I think I found a faster, quicker way of doing it where it doesn't impede too much my time I need for working in the shop and family time. So, and here's the trick for 2026 for social media. People are getting tired of, they like watching live as you're watching live right now, so that's not going to go away. Podcast type thing. But the other one is, they change the algorithm all the time on the YouTube and various others. So what we're looking at is, since YouTube has expanded the shorts to 3 minutes, that's hit a whole new category, which kind of fills in or follows the TikTok concept, as well as Reels and Facebook Reels and Instagram Reels. So so if you can do in 3 minutes increments of more compressed either tech questions or insights or whatever, you're going to have a better flow. Ad rev through AdSense through YouTube is going to be a lot less, but you're going to have more volume of searches or a lot more volume of views, where that's the whole name of the game there. So yeah, that's a whole nuts thing. But anyway, that being said, you all that do a lot of riding, do trail maintenance, bike shops and so forth, and you're just you're always, there's a time deficit every freaking day when you go into work in the bike shop world. I always thought, I'm going to do all these things. I have a full day. I'm going to have no disruptions. I get only a third that I want to get done for various reasons. Because things either take too long or whatever the case. There's a million reasons for it. So, and that being said, you're running a shop. I think it's BL Bicycles in Washington, state of Washington. It's not Bainbridge. That's one of those cities. I almost guarantee you, if you follow anybody or you watch Instagram, you've seen him. And it's a guy that has a higher pitched voice and All he does is the 3-minute things, and he always features little bikes, that kind of deal. Very successful. I think he has over 50,000 subs or something like that. You too, as a bike shop, all the smaller shops, if you want to start leveraging that, provide a little more weight to your social media presence or your website presence or whatever it need be, just do those 3-minute shorts or less. It's a lot less time to commit, a lot easier to edit, and it's a better, cleaner, richer content. And then you're really hitting a broader audience, and you're really bringing more recognition to what you do as a shop and your community. I've started to test on those, and the Klein one blew up. I mean, more than I had anticipated. I mean, it was like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. I followed up with the Schwinn one, the classic yellow Schwinn. It did pretty good, but not as much. But, you know, people are not as intrigued in Schwinn. And I did another one too. So, you know, I think if you do consistently the shorts like that, you will probably have a very good successful impact without spending a ton of time. And also that keeps all your social media links current on your website, because if you go to one of those links and they're either not working or they don't have relevant content, those customers are going to go, or potential customers are going to be like, I don't know if they're even a real company, because they're not really posting on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. So that's a little golden nugget on your social media part of it. And guess what? It's cheap, if not free, to do for advertising. All the cost is time. Think about it. How much money do you put in the yellow pages? How much money you put in the paper? How much money have you put in? Oh yeah, I was talking about a whole bunch of old stuff. But email, paying somebody to do the emails and so forth. That's where all that AI stuff is coming into play to help smaller businesses blow up. Think about it. You can leverage it. I'm usually leveraging the hell out of it myself. In any case, back to chat. Get back to the center. Left to center. It's an 80s song from one of the old movies. Randy, thank you. Randy in Denver, 26. Brother down south, or I'm assuming down in Denver, about an hour and a half away from me. Well, I discovered Calvin about 5 years ago. Learned a lot from his videos. Yes, he is very talented at conveying. I commented because he reminded me like the Mr. Rogers of the bike realm. I mean, he is that, right? He's like his good neighbor. Let's come in and let's just work on this. And he had a really good, great, subtle presence and approach to him. Oh, Sheldon Brown. Yeah, Patrick, that's pretty good. Pretty good one, yeah. Yes, very similar to Sheldon Brown for sure. Yeah, so, yeah, that being said, I mean, like I mentioned before, and you're watching me right now, and there's a good chance that you might be just watching me because there's just not enough content to watch for cycling, or very specific, or maybe what I'm providing. What am I providing? That's a lot. It's a lot of the perspective of who's watching, but what I'm trying to attempt is more, not necessarily grassroots, more of like the average rider, the bike shop that's your regular bike shops, or your shops, a community where is more of a tradition. I want to say traditionalist. That's kind of a weird way of looking at it. More of more appealing to the bigger market of cycling. And that's the other 80 to 90% of cyclists that are not in any category cat races, that are not extreme racers, or not part of the high-tech leading edge tech. The rest of us that just want to go ride and we just want to fix bikes up and have those communities. The rest of us. So that's how I look at myself, as being not the elitist mechanic, not the elitist bike shop, not the elitist racer. Sure, there's a whole bunch of channels of that. I'm not going to be featuring like the latest $10,000. Oh wait, I got a $10,000 bike in my stand. Whoop, my bad. But I'm not doing reviews, and all I'm doing is reviews on them and that kind of thing. There's channels and they have spaces for that, and they have a lot of subscribers. Guess what? There's a smashing amount of subscribers out there, or people that are just watching social media outlets that just want to watch the average individuals do their things and have their successes and their wins and their losses. And I think it resonates, and also is more tangible to a lot of those cyclists and not intimidating. And that's the imitation factor that I've noticed in a lot of shops in the 90s when everything made everything boutique-y, which was cute and great and awesome looking, but yet that when you walk into those shops as a consumer, first time consumer, you're intimidated. And now the new bikes are inflated to such ungodly numbers where it's insane. So to me, there's a place where you don't have to do that. And there's a lot of shops in a lot of areas where accommodate for the average, or above average, or into it enthusiasts, cyclists, not at the extreme level. So therefore, that's where the shift is, the return of the local bike shops, of more of the Parker Bikes days, of the homegrown shops where we did a lot of service. It's the same person that rings you out for your bottle cage that fixes the tires in the back and does the drivetrain clean and now does wax chains and detailing and all that other stuff. Yes, and yes, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's what we're looking at, of what we're change, and we're going to see more of that. Reason being is, I hate to say it, it's just an observation, and it is a true observation, where we had the Trek and the Specialized, and they decided to buy a whole bunch of shops in the States and globally apparently, and they saw an opportunity to be retail direct, basically as a version of direct to consumer before they went to direct to consumer. That being said, they bought a whole bunch of shops, and they pulled a blockbuster thing where they flooded our market with bike shops, and then this is all by design, by the blockbuster playbook of then just close down the shops that don't perform. And they tested the market, and they keep what is performing the best, and then that's where they ride. Well, unfortunately, in some of those markets where they've pulled out, there's still a need for bike shops that they converted their old Trek local bike shop into a corporate shop, and now there's no shop. However you may feel about that, I'll leave that to you. But there's an opportunity for little individuals like myself, kind of go in, make our own little shop. There's a plenty of the pie to cut into, mainly if you're looking at for service, working on e-bikes, or working into the used market going into 2026. Those are the three pillars that are going to sustain a lot of current bike shops and big bike shops to get through whatever we're going through. And then opportunities for a lot of little micro shops, independent bike shops as yourself, to retake the landscape where the corporate stores are left behind. And honestly, we can be a lot more flexible, adaptable, and creative, and more community building. Not to say they don't, but we can do it better, faster, and smarter. Who's with me on me with this? Yes? No? Maybe? Give me a thumbs up. Share, like, subscribe, do all the things. Because, we're in some weirdness. It's been weird. It's going to get weirder. Just like this last week, like every day, I have to turn off the TV or turn off the news. It's just gotten a little too much for me. It's just, I got to get it. I can't let it take up real estate in my space anymore. I know it's affecting a lot of the industry, but like I said before, earlier, if you haven't chimed in, it's like my business model has shifted, and I've found some successes and very strong successes, as well as a lot of you that have been watching this and been part of my community as shops. And they're like, this is what we're doing next year. This is it. Regardless if we love it or hate it, this is what we're doing. This is what needs to be done. And this is what needs to have to, help build our communities and keep people engaged and all those things. So needless to say, that's where we're at. And we are just going to keep going forward with it. Happily, most of us really enjoy what we're doing. And there it is. Corporate stores, they provide livable wages. They provide paid time off for all those mechanics who have been in it for a long time, and people in the cycling industry, which is fine and great. Nothing against that. What they've done as a bigger picture, that's be left to leave that up to those who want to judge. But for me, for what I like to do, and I have no problem with the peoples of the front lines of those shops. Don't get me wrong. I've worked with a lot of them when they were independent, shop before they got changed over to corporate. And I understand. I'm right there with them. If it was me 25 years ago, I'd be doing the same thing. Reason being is you need to make a livable wage. At the time, I just had a brand new baby, trying to make things work. And in the shop I was in, I was not getting enough livable wage to support a family. And that made me go into Big Five. Sorry, I'm trying to finagle a bottle cage. What I found was interesting on this, though, is, everything's really nice, precise. I'm not sure if the gentleman put on the cages himself. It was like a product that was set aside for them, like an upgrade, direct-to-consumer thing, which most likely probably was. I'm pretty sure it wasn't mounted at the factory. Bottle cages, why would they mount at the factory? I like to put a little grease, regardless of what materials it is, on the threads of these guys, because I've had my fair share of corroded mixed metal materials in a bottle cage where I've had to cut it and re-rivet it. These are tapped and thread into the frame, so there's no rivet to them, which is nice. It's nice attention to detail, but you sure hell don't want anything seizing up in there as the materials go. And yeah, it's, titanium is not supposed to rust and all that. I don't know if these are titanium bolts or whatever. You still just don't want stuff drawing in anywhere, regardless of what does or not. Let's just say you get in a lot of mud races or whatever, and that mud gets microfined and it seeps into the threads. And that mud has a little bit of iron in it. All of a sudden, the mud itself becomes the rust barrier that seizes up that bolt. Just saying. It may not be the current materials that you have to worry about. Or, this bike goes on a trainer, your body sweat gets all over it. All bike mechanics have worked on trainer bikes. Say yes, me. You've seen crusty sweat. Or triathlon bikes. You've seen things. Oh, you've seen things. You've seen those videos, they pull the bar tape off and the bar basically eroded and broke. And I believe those are even on alloy. They oxidized to the point where they broke. That just blows me away. But yeah, you see things. Extreme riders with their bikes. Not going to go into details, but ew. Just ew. Just going to leave it there. In any case, a little bit of lube, a little bit of bearing grease goes a long ways for the next person that works on this bike. It might be you, so you might want to make sure you're doing everything you can. The place that was the worst on bikes that I ever worked in was Michigan, Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor, Michigan. Great place, nice, beautiful, beautiful trees and all that. Great people. They salt the roads and they do some weird treatment to their dirt roads, which is a very corrosive chemical. basically, in the day, it eats bikes. That environment just eats bikes. And working in a shop and seeing how bad corrosion and humidity pipeline in summer to a lot of rain to salted roads, bikes have a really short lifespan there, potentially. So it's pretty intense. Intense. All right. So those who wax chains out there, you probably advise some kind of a trick or a trade or whatever. This is a brand new, used to be a brand new chain cleaner. Some people like Vital Bike, Bill from Vital Bike, he has a little board that has different jockey pulleys and so forth. What it is doing is what we're trying to shed the excess of the wax off of the chain to make it pliable enough to get it on the bike and also shifting. Because right now you can see it's kind of stiff. And you don't want to try to force that on your drivetrain. So the easy remedy is getting yourself a $10, $12 chain cleaner, which these don't work a damn for cleaning chains anyway. So this is actually actual use that actually works for these things. And you just, what it does is helps shed and makes that all those links a little more pliable. So I do like 20 or 30 times on one side, then I flip it the other direction to help it make it pliable. There's a few of us nerds that have more modern suspension mountain bikes that we take to a shop. But we also have 80s and 90s mountain bikes, townies, that we build and work on from home. Yeah, there's, mountain bike thing, woo, that's a whole different extreme of tech and supported parts. And I mean, when everything went to 29ers, like in the early 2000s, the mid, like the 26s got left behind. But yeah, I still believe in my heart, because I came from the 26ers, there's still a place for them, but they basically are non-existent. But there's a whole massive mountain of 26 used that used to be really expensive that you can fix up if you take the time and work on them and so forth. Make it a really nice rides for fun. Then yeah, if you're really into the high end, the latest tech, the suspension and so forth, yes, it's going to be completely night and day difference between the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s mountain bikes. Of course, there's such a huge technological ramp up to, I would say, 2012, maybe 2015 is their peak. And then it's just how much more carbon or titanium or lighter weight we can do it. But the actual performance factor of them is probably plateaued. Okay, with road bikes, with personal experience, that definitely plateaued in the early 2000s. When they went to compact frames with the 10 speeds and 9 speeds that are reliable and durable, and with when they started converting to discs, that opens up tires. So okay, 2008 or 2009, that's when that plateaued. And now they're just kind of just making it, well, can we make it cooler? Internal cable routing and electronic shifting, but you don't need that, do you? Brakes still brake, they still stop. Your cable actuated shifters still shift. I mean, I'm not saying that this newer stuff isn't nice. It is. I enjoy working on it. I enjoy riding some of it. Yet you can't really afford it. But it's in one of those scenarios. It's nice stuff. I'm not, and it does have a place for it. And it's done a lot of good things, especially for like triathlon bikes with all the cable routing. Electronic shifting is a great place for that. Because those aero bikes are designed to be wind tunnel, and then they come around with the idea like, okay, now we got to figure out how to put cables so we can do shifting. All designed for aerodynamics first. Quite honestly, for the 95% of us out there, you do not want aero bikes. Honestly, you don't. I'm probably going to get some haters out there. You don't. Because you get into one crosswind, and how it is right now, your ass is going to be on the concrete sideways, or blown into a pole or in a car, of worse things. Those are not, they're aerodynamic going forward. That's it. You get a side wind. I had one person reach out a few years back. It's like, oh, I was thinking about getting one of those like deep dish or full dish wheels and so forth. I'm like, don't do it. You're a recreational rider. You can't have a disc riding around downtown Chicago. You're going to die. And you're like, oh, good point. I'm like, yeah, any crosswind that makes that bike pretty much invalid. It's it's not safe. In any case. Yeah. Oh yeah. Modern to me. Peak of the 2016 intense. Oh, that's a good one. Unfortunately, I kind of fallen off the mountain bike, keeping up with the tech personally after the 90s because my lifestyle changed and I didn't mountain bike race anymore and all that. It wasn't in a shop that I really, but I mean, the Intense is a really nice brand. Actually, I talked to the guys in the last bike show with they're really trying to be a part of the cycling industry with the independent bike dealers with their custom builds kind of thing. More kudos to them. Be interested to see if it worked. I'm not sure. I really haven't. I mean, if you're a bike shop that carries Intense and had their dealer program and all that, let me know. Did it work for you? Did it actually provide some good sales and good customer support? Or it basically took the concept of you build the bike up and then it goes to the bike shop and the bike shop gets all the, they get their margins and so forth. And it's kind of a win-win. I mean, you get a custom built up, what you want on it kind of thing versus getting a bike off the floor and then having to swap out the bars, the crankset, the seat, or whatever. They had a couple different models of component groups, and QBP is a group set. You can customize. Suspension is one of them too, I believe. It was a great concept, especially if you're spending that much money. Last thing you want to be doing is, swapping out $300 bars, to size or width or whatever. In any case. Oh, nice. Pedal pushers. Yeah, I've heard of them. In Golden? Nice. Oh, they're an Intense dealer? I'm not sure what brands they carry. Haven't been in there for a long time. Oh, the program didn't work out for them? That's too bad. I mean, it sounded good on paper. When I was talking to the main guy, he was newer to Intense. I think he worked at Specialized at one point. And it sounded like good Kool-Aid. Not sure if it was going to apply. Like good power, I mean, I technically, not that they're, mountain bikes are my genre, but I technically could become a dealer. And he told me, even if, out of the garage, like I am, like, yeah, you can become a dealer. And then we would work with you to get that set up. And, well, that's what they were saying. Not that it could come to fruition, I'll tell you in a second. But technically, in his mind, I could become a dealer, Intense dealer, have my customers that may be in the road, but like, hey, I want to do a really cool mountain bike, something like this guy, but I never would. But anyway, could do a custom build and have it sent to me, and QBB send me the parts and all that, and then I'll build it up for them and be all ready to go and fit in that kind of deal. So it would have been an opportunity for anybody, or a good portion of it. The only problem to that is QBP will not sell to me, and because I'm a bike shop out of a garage, and they're sticking to the old school of we don't sell to bike shops out of the garage. Sorry, I disappeared out of frame as I'm hooking up my chain. For what I do, that's fine. It'd be nice to have a dealer agreement with them, but it definitely not even close and necessary for what I do. And it's actually less of a problem for me, because I don't have contracts, I don't have dealer agreements, and I don't have to, hit a certain amount of thousands of dollars of inventory to appease them. Therefore, I'm more of, I guess it's probably consumer friendly, because if you come in with a whole pile of parts that you bought off of Amazon or wherever, I don't care. It's great. It keeps me from having to do that because I don't do a huge inventory list. I have my basics, cables, housing, and some other things, but I don't carry a whole variety of tires or wheels or any of that are new. It just is not my business model, and nor do I want to invest tens of thousands of dollars into that. And that's just not how it works for me. And so, yeah, it's okay. It works. But yeah, it sounded like a really cool deal. And there's an outfit in England. I don't know if they did it. It was like a fitting group. They were going to do bike brands and do the same thing, like do the frame, and then you can pick all the other parts. And that would, you totally get a custom. It may cost you a little more, but it's the same, if not cheaper, than if you would have bought the whole bike and had to swap out a whole bunch of parts. So it really made sense there. And being professional fitters, they know they've been doing that, swapping out for people for a long time. So if you've been an avid rider like this guy, knows what he wants, has had a professional fitting, could do something like that. And honestly, that fits the $5,000 to $10,000 to $15,000 niche customers, because they're going to have those fits. Why wouldn't they not? I mean, really, it's kind of like you're already that far into the game and the Kool-Aid and all that. That's where that's going to be. So anyway, whew. Yeah, they're 11:30. This bike is almost done. Got the bottle cages on there, that's good. The rest of these parts are to the other bike. Let's change to the other bike too. Oh, coffee. That's what I'm looking for. Keep the coffee going. So for me, for those who are in bike shops, or you have a friend that has a shop, or you go to a shop and you ask, you're gonna ask them about elevated service on a new bike, I'm charging $150. And I think that's pretty modest price. Get a chain waxing, ceramic coating on the frame, and cleaning the parts, and double checking all the bolts and torques and all that. It's like your basic tune-up, which is your $50 or $100 tune-up on a lot of bikes, that like your brush over tune-up. Kind of thing. Not that I don't even do those. It's a little more on top of that. I don't even have that category. But in any case, but you're really double checking everything. And this also gives him the vote of confidence. Been inspected a couple times. Everything's been double checked. So nothing happened in shipping. Everything's dialed in. The wax is at higher performance. The frame's been protected and so forth. And even if he didn't he's going to take it to his fitter to have it double checked, because he's already paid for the service. But if you needed me to do a static fit, I can do a little adjustment in the saddle and tilt and the bars and all that. And a lot of people that may have just gotten themselves a Canyon or a Trek direct-to-consumer or a Specialized direct-to-consumer may have never had any of that done. I mean, how many people in a lot of the community have ever gotten a proper bike fit, even a static one? I'd say majority of them. I mean, as busy as those fitters are, I would say a good portion of the people buying bikes in general, well, you could say, even though Walmart and Target and sporting goods stores do about 70 to 80% of the bike market, well, that's 70, 80% of the people that never gotten a fit. And then the other 30%, is to be modest, of those buying from bike shops or used, I would say maybe just 2% of them have gotten a fit. So that's a pretty low number, a pretty big number to tap into, to work towards. Because back in the day, in the 90s, to be relevant to the newest, the newest processes of selling bikes in the 90s, we provided a static fit with every bike for the most part. Put them on the training stand, taught them how to shift the gears. This is where a lot of people were not familiar with the new STI shifting and all that, and everything was still new, suspension, all that. They give you an opportunity to talk to the customer about their new bike and to get all adjusted for them. And it really gave them the best foot forward of enjoying that riding experience. Well, a lot of shops, specifically corporate shops, don't have any fit service, and if they do, they charge a huge amount or maybe a little discount for the ones that they do. But it's like they don't have that static fit. It's like $300 fit or nothing. Or nothing at all, and they tell you to go somewhere else. Really? Anyway, that's a whole different beef. But for small independent shops out there, you're providing this particular service, you provide a static fit. Majority of the bikes that I sold provided a static fit as well as service. I provide a static fit if need be, if they want that. That just helps them, especially if it's a new bike to them, like do little adjustments. Best scenario, there it's a win. The bike rides better for them. It's more comfortable and enjoy riding. Guess what? They need more service. That's great affinity loop. So anyway, that being said, all right, back to chat. Oh, they have IBIS too? Randy, thank you for chiming in. Yeah, IBIS, CB3, not familiar with them. As the last shop. Gotcha. Oh, CB, or 3C. Cool. Yeah, I mean, some of those shops, they do some nice niche lines, and they, some of them have like that market. It's great. It's awesome. It's awesome they have that. But, it comes in ebb and flow, and, I like new stuff. I mean, obviously I love new stuff, but, you can't usually, and this coming forward, you're not going to be able to afford it as a bike shop to buy a lot of that new stuff and knowing it's going to sell. That's the thing. That's a big risk. Speaking of Intense, I have one of the early 2003 Intense BMX bikes. Oh, wow, nice. From Toby Henderson. Nice. That's cool. Heavy metal cycles. That's pretty cool. Thank you for chiming in, by the way. Oh, Susan, thank you for chiming in. I think that the wholesalers like QEP and HLC, which is Holly, etc., are getting more flexible because they have to, oh, it moved up. They have to, smaller wholesalers are putting the pressure on. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't know if QBP is going to be at the show this CABDA in March in Las Vegas that I'll be at. I mean, even the reps, when I was talking to them, they're like, hey, we need to do something, but they didn't want to say anything. It's kind of like, what do you want? What you want to? You're saying no to money. You're saying no to opportunity. Put in a restriction. You got a computer algorithm. You can just restrict what I can buy. Like you only could buy chains and cables and housing and tubes and tires for a service thing. They already have that probably set up for mobile. Just do the same thing for honestly, I thought about the mobile thing. This is really, ask anyone. I know some of you are mobile in this chat or watching. Doing this inside of a vehicle is a cluster pain in the butt. And to add time to drive to people, which is a great service, by the way, I'm not knocking that at all, but that is an added cost to your, like I talked about before, there's not enough time in a day to do hardly a tenth of the percent of the stuff that you need to get done. So you add that layer of insanity to it. I mean, I'm surprised they're not charging triple the cost for convenience fee to showing up to somebody's house to do a tune-up. And then, what if you need something that you don't, or need to order, or come across a broken something or other? I mean, we've all been there, and that's really hard to do in the field. So I did it a couple times. I'm like, I'm actually lucky. I had two super problematic repairs. I'm like, I can't do this. I just can't. It just it doesn't put me in a good position. It doesn't put the bike in the best performance, and it's a disconnect with the customer. I mean, for light and fluffy tune-ups and so forth like that, not to degrade it by any means, but maybe. But man, I mean, give me the bike, give me 3 or 4 days. If I come across an issue, I can order the parts. It'll be done in the same amount of time. You get a better quality of service. I get it done without less stress. It's a win-win-win. I mean, granted, those services are out there, and that's great. That's awesome. But for me, just thinking about it, it's making my blood pressure go up. Just check my watch. It's intense. It's intense. Oh, I do have an intense frame, by the way, that I have hanging up. It's like a early 2000s. I need to clean up and see if anybody want to buy it for $50. It's pretty beat. Somebody may want it for parts or something. But yeah, back in QBP and Holly. I mean, let's put it this way. I have a Silka account. I have not bought one thing yet. I will when I need it, but I don't feel comfortable enough to put a $4,000 order in and hope that inventory sells within the next 6 months going into our next market. I'd love to if I had the lucrative, but I'm not that liquid. And to be risking that much, if I'm spending $4,000, it's going to be on products that I know is going to move within the next 30 to 60 to 90 days, period. And if I could get a low-level contract with lower shipping rates, because the other problem with QBP and Holly and all those, their minimum orders are for free freight, because you have to shoot that free freight because freight's going to kill you for profitability, is 400, 500, 600, 700, whatever it is. It keeps on going up, I think, and that's a deal breaker. I don't. If I just need a couple tubes and a bar tape and a couple other things, that maybe $150 in a week for a couple repairs I'm working on. No, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So they would have to develop a program for small shops that you have to match it with, maybe a little bit more than the free freight of $50, which every other online direct-to-consumer is, maybe $100, that's a little bit easier to swallow as a small shop like mine, and compound that with maybe if you do $1,000 within a year, you get the pricing, and then $100 for after $100 is free freight. That would make sense, and they would sell maybe a lot more dealers they'd have to open up, but they would have a lot more opportunity to sell more on top of that, built up from the ground up. Because that's where a lot of bike shops are going to, really small, or they're populating really small, either they're shrinking to, or they're opening up as really small, light and polite, very protected overhead, for sure. And that is going into our next topic here soon. I'm dragging to the end, but I need to catch up on chat. Scott, yep. Oh, it's been 3 years since. Oh, I did intense work on your ultralight. Yeah, your titanium. Yeah, Scott, your light speed. Tear it down, rebuild, wax and chain, doing the tune-up. Best job ever. Thank you. I appreciate it. Might be time for another one. So yeah, I've been finding when I'm doing like those high intense, it's close to overhaul, but like super size, like super detailed tune-ups, they don't need to be done every year, it seems like. And Scott's a great point. He rides a lot. And if I can get a bike to just hold its tune-up more than a couple years to 3 years, that saves the wear and tear on the bike, also saves the customer extra $300-400 tune-ups every year, and then you get a better reputation for that. So there's a lot of benefits to that. It's it's kind of counterintuitive to service departments to be proactive maintenance. That goes back to the conversation I was having a couple weeks ago, or the last chat, or I forget. It's like you have it, there's two mechanic philosophies, and it's not the mechanics, it's shop philosophies, is good enough for that tune-up package, or the overachievers, that preventative mechanic. Good enough, preventative mechanic. What shop is yours? If you're a preventative mechanic, you're going to get that bike to last a lot longer. And the customer has a better experience for a better tune-up. There's exceptions to rules, and there's chance and all that. But for a good portion of it is a positive. Positive outcome is what you're looking for. But thanks, Scott, for chiming in and telling everybody all the not so scary work that I do. Heavy metal cycles. Oh yeah, Bike Farmer used to do mobile. Yeah, I caught that some of those videos. The pain in the butt factor would be why he doesn't do it any longer. Yeah, it's tough, and it's very seasonal too. You can't be doing bike repairs outside of your van in the winter. It's just not a, and sometimes it's really tight quarters if you're doing it inside the van itself, where you have to have a van that's conducive for height and all that. I'd have to have a super tall one. Plus you got cost of the van and insurance and all that stuff. It's just so much more expensive, absurdly expensive for what you get out of it. I don't know how any of them make enough money, honestly, to do it. I mean, without not having a life whatsoever. GPS, that's a good one. You do a house call 1 day per week. It's kind of like your doctor visit. He'd be like, I'll show up. Yep, it's messed up. I'm taking it with me. It's just going to be a delivery service at that point for me. It's going to be really expensive delivery service too. Got trip charges to that. They're willing to pay. Yeah, well, some people are willing to pay it. That's I mean, somebody could reach out. Hey, next time you're down there, you want to come pick it up? I'll pay an extra $50. And I'll just drive up and do the fit. Then you have the fitting thing. It's kind of like that needs to be done kind of like in-house too. So it's those things. You get better. I don't know. It's just a little bit more of everything. Plus, I like to do a lot of videos and stuff I'm working on too. And that's kind of hard to do when you're doing mobile service as well. That's my business. So that's how it works. Oh yeah. Oh, Randy, you're surprised that QBP, BTI, et cetera, haven't developed a new program? They may have. I have not found out yet. They may have, but when I talked to them last March, both of them, I mean, BTI and QBP were a flat no. Well, BTI I did apply for, and I went to them like, hey, I submitted a apply, and I never heard anything. They didn't say nay or nay, or yay or nay. They didn't say anything. It was just never got anything back. I'm like, oh, we'll check into that. Yeah, they didn't hear anything. Same thing with JBI, J&B importers. They want the bigger dollars, of course. They're in it for business. They don't want to have to rely on a lot of little me's to help. I mean, it'd take, 10 of me's to equate to one bike shop, possibly. That's a lot extra lift on them. But if they made it easy, like you prove that you have insurance and a business license, and maybe some historical fact, like you've been working on bikes for more than a year. I don't know. There's no certifications or classifications or anything in the cycling industry. So someone with no knowledge on working on bikes can open a bike shop out of their garage right across the street from me. There's nothing that's going to stop them from doing that. So, I mean, there has to be, it's like, if they have applications like, I worked at like these many shops, I've been working in the industry for this long, or I've had my own business for this much, they can look up my Google reviews and go, oh, okay, he feels like a good representation of QBP. By the way, they do ship direct to consumer through bike shops, so they're no different than Amazon or anybody else. So why are they in stick and mud about this? I have no idea. They just haven't figured out a win-win scenario for them. If this keeps up, they're gonna need something. They're gonna hope they'd take 1,000 of us, me's. And it's smarter. But just think about it. I mean, how much money I've saved not having a van and insurance and the maintenance and all that and the time out of my business model, and had to buy my parts at a discount on sale or waive that. I could almost guarantee you I'm still making more money and then in a day paying more prices on that than I would if I had a van and I'm driving around all those places. The dollars and the cents don't add up. I mean, even in my head, a fuzzy math doesn't add up. I don't think. I mean, that could just be me though. But yeah, you're right. I'm surprised they weren't. Maybe they're gonna be coming up with something here soon. Maybe one of their teammates or one of those, listen to this guy on this crazy Tuesday podcast, and like, he has a point. We may want to think about something here, because right now they're having board meetings going, anybody have a good idea? Raise their hand. Even a bad idea. Anybody that's left that's still working for them, they haven't laid off. Anybody left that has a good idea, say something. Like that movie, Say Anything. Get a boom box. I needed trouble with a boom box at the bike show up my head. I'm like, come on, say something. I joke. Oh, I joke. Oh yeah, Susan, that's a good one. We do pick up and drop off service in winter for our loyal customers, just in the local area of our winter shop. Yeah, in the summertime, it's almost. I mean, if you have the volume, sure. If you can pay the salary for somebody to run around, but here's a note to think about: if you're doing used. If you have somebody in trust, or if it's yourself or whatever, and if you're doing the pick up and drop off things, and of course those are going to all be appointment based, right? How about, I'm going to be bold here. Like, I'm going to go drive down to South Denver. It's an hour drive, Denver Tech Center, Cherry Creek area, where they have the money. And I'm doing a pickup, and then somebody's paying me to go pick up the bike and do the service and come back and drop it off, or whatever the agreement is. And 2 days before that appointment, I start looking for used bikes to buy in that area. And I come across 1 or 2 bikes that would be a good fit, that's super cheap. I contact them, either have them hold it for Venmo, or I'll be down there at a certain time. So what you're doing is you're driving down, take another extra 10, 15 minutes to go pick up another bike, maybe an hour even long, it doesn't matter. Picking up another bike or two while you're doing a pickup and delivery service in that particular area. Therefore, you're doubling up the actual call, bringing those bikes and having your whole, revamp, sell, or whatever, because your margin on that bike, I can almost guarantee you that if you do it right, is going to be over 50 points to 60 points. And then you have more inventory. So you just compounded the profit off that one delivery and pickup service. If you can trust that person that's doing it, or you pay it for Venmo and all they do is the kid shows up, or I'd say kid, I mean, your professional delivery mechanic goes and picks up that. If it's one of your higher level techs are going out there to do the drive service, they're going to be the good one to be able to vet those pickup bikes for sale, for resale. Therefore, you're doubling up. I've done that in reverse. I was like, oh, I'm going to be down in Denver Tech Center. I have your bike here. I'll just drop it off, or I'll meet you somewhere real quick, and I'll just drop it off. I go have lunch with a buddy down in DTC, and dropped off his bike for a tune-up. He paid me Venmo. It's all good. And then I picked up 2 more bikes while down there. And guess what? Those other 2 bikes I bought down there, I could probably tell you off the top of my head, I made $500 off of each one of them. That's $1,000 a day with lunch, not including the 2 of them I did, which was another $300. Something to think about. That's being creative. The more creative you can, providing more service to your community, how big your community, my community is freaking huge. I mean, I'm talking to people that are all across the United States and across the borders to other countries and giving them insights and ideas and, and on top of that, people are willing to drive an hour and a half to 2 hours to have me work on their bikes because they saw me here and they feel good about what I'm doing and what I provide. So there goes in the last part here. Oh man, I ran over on time. So I'm not going to try to go over this quick, but this goes into the service department. Here's the focus on 2026 service department profitability audit design for mobile bike shop owners or small shops like myself. In 2026, the inventory margins are thin and the trade wars have violated that for sure. Service bay is no longer a convenience. It is prime engine for survival. So, okay. So I got 3 parts here. The first part, evaluation. If you're a bike shop, you're sitting back and going, okay, I need to do my checks and balances. What do I need to do every year, which I've been doing, and doing all the paperwork back in and getting everything ready, and auditing my subscriptions and all that stuff, right, for business model 101. But these are some of the things you may not or have been or may not be more in tune because it is more service centric going into 2026. Part 1, labor and efficiency audit. Being a service manager, all your staff members hate that audit because they feel threatened. They're freaked out. When I first did it at Lease Cycle, they freaked the fuck out. I'm like, I just need to see a bare assessment of what we're expected as a service department as a whole. They took it as an individual performance review. So I was like, whoa, hold on here. Need to see what we can do as a whole, what the team member we have, and then we can make going forward. I brought that to light, then I told the owner, and the owner's like, oh, wow, that's a good idea. Like, he never knew of any of that. So it was kind of like a disconnect from the owner to the service departments, and always was that way, and always did from there on out. Anyway, okay, there's 4 parts here. Calculate, utilization rates. Okay, this one's a hard one to swallow. Okay, so you need to find their billable time that they're in the shop working. 70 to 75% of their shift needs to be billable. In other words, making money for the store to pay for them to be there. Other 25% is cleaning, answering phones, whatever, that kind of thing. Research, training, all that. If they were spending 4 hours a day as organizing and cleaning, you would lose thousands of dollars monthly. So you got to give your people productive in a cash flow sense. It's hard to put your head around sometimes. Skill-based routine. Are you paying your lead mechanic $25 to fix flats? Using junior mechanics for basic repairs to keep the lead tech for high value work like suspension pivots, e-bike diagnosis, and so forth. The dollar matches the tech level and pay relates to that. Digital vehicle inspection DIV. Oof, this is another one. Do your work on work orders include 3 to 5 orders sent or okay. Basically, using proof of worn drivetrain cracked. Okay. So digital vehicle inspection. So kind of sounds like a car thing. It is being used in the car thing. You want to make sure you have a good camera, make sure it's available to take pictures of serial numbers of the bikes, take pictures of the bikes when they're completed, even before and afters if possible. Those kinds of things will save you. Also, it help communicate and keep the customer informed, as well as management too, or ownership. So that's a huge thing. Promise time accuracy. We've always had problems with this because things always throws a wrench in it. But you got to always set yourself up for success. Under promise, over deliver is the best way to put it. But you need to track how how often bikes are ready when promised. Delays in 2026 often stem from part shipment lulls. Audit your staging. Areas to ensure parts are in hand before bikes hit the stand. So basically SWOT, sell what's available today. That's with a shop that has inventory and so forth, or has available inventory. And keep in mind how long it takes to get in your shop. I mean, if you're looking at 3 or 4 delay anyway to get to that bike, you want to make sure all those parts are available. But here's the kicker. You want to be very careful on that. Your assessment of the bike repair or like the check-in on it needs to be so spot on that on day 4, when the bike gets worked on and those parts are in to put on it, nothing else comes up. You put another 3 or 4 day delay on the bike because, oh, we didn't come across of a bearing that needed to be replaced or whatever, and we need to order that from Timbuktu. The customer is going to hate that. It's not good. So if you need to buff out, here's a thought. Oh, we're not 3 days out. Well, we're 3 days to get to your bike. Well, we're 6 days out or 8 days out. Okay, it sounds like it just, but we're like, hey, we're making sure that the bikes are done right. You got a high quality service. That's our worker demand. They don't need to know the difference on that. You give them a couple extra days for your staff to come up with a positive outcome. If day 3, they get to it and it's all done and everything's perfect, that's a win. If something comes up, you're like, oh crap, I need to order a bearing. Hey, by the way, we came across something in double inspecting your bike and it needs a bearing. It's going to be here and you're still going to get it on time. Also appointment based a lot. That keeps all the bikes out of your crawl spaces of your shop, for sure. Okay, I think we beat number 1 to death. Here we go. Number 2. This is on the more of the bookkeeping side. And, a lot of people don't understand the management of dollars and cents in the service department. Sometimes they're not really good mathematicians and understand percentages. But looking at margins and pricing audit, that has to be done by management and worked with the owners or what have you. And if it's the same person as me, I got to make sure I sit down and look at it going, okay, is those chains costing me more now than it did before? Am I making 5-10% less on something I'm doing? Yeah, those things have to be audited. So we have a 10% inflation adjustment. That's just on inflation itself. That doesn't include anything else going on. That's in our shops. That's being affected in our shops. Like I mentioned before in other videos, when the prices get increased on anything, they usually never go down, especially in the, what our realm is. I mean, yeah, eggs and milk might go down and gas, but everything else doesn't. So what it's going to cost the bike shops doesn't change. What's happening is the wholesalers or the manufacturers are taking a little bit of loss now, but when it goes back up, like the costs for them go down, they're going to take the profit from it. The bike shops don't, unfortunately. So the 10% increase adjustment for 2026 is the time to raise your labor rates. If the standard tune-up is 80, move it to 90 to 100 bucks. The inventory benchmark to cover the rise of shipping and shop insurance is utility costs. Your insurance may go up because you're switching over to e-bike services. Your e-bike insurance is going to go up as well. So you need to double check all of that. And on the labor rates going up. Okay, a lot of bike shops in my neck of the woods are dropping the prices for tune-ups, like 50 to get people in the door. They really just need to get people in the door and do service and so forth. If you're in a situation where you don't necessarily need that right this now and you're doing okay, like right now I'm okay, I got several tune-ups and so forth, I'm not going to discount my tune-up. What I've done though is shown the reflected price increase on my website listing for what's going to happen in not March, most likely in April. My prices are going to go up. So instead of giving a discount, you're getting the cheaper price now because prices are going up in 3 months. That's how I'm working it. So it's, I'm not going to cut what I'm making now because right now I can't cut anymore because everything else for me just costs so much more. So it resonates with the customer. They understand. And you're like, this is your opportunity to get me to work on your stuff because in April, it's going to cost 10% more. So I already reflected those prices on my website. It's just not effective now. So technically they're on sale, but it's my currently prices. They're going to be going up. And if Weight and Measures comes after me, so be it. Which they probably got furloughed anyway. It's a government agency, United States here. Okay, the second part of that, shop supply fees. You are eating the cost of grease, cable ends, and cleaners. Ensure the 3 to 5% shop supply fees is automated in every service invoice. If you're not doing shop supply fees, expect them to be there. Do it. I worked in the shop. They were doing this 20, 30 years ago. Car dealerships have been doing this too. It's not a thing to say there's a fees on it. It covers the stuff, or it just built in. For me, I just absorb it at my cost. But that's me. Because my overhead is so much minimal. But I'm very mindful of what I do buy. But those are a tax write-off where I'm at anyway. So that may be different in your neck of the woods. Okay, the third part of 2 is parts to labor ratio. This is interesting. This kind of, I don't know if I agree with this too much, but it is part of a service department's perspective. The service tickets should identify they have 1-to-1 ratio labor to parts. In other words, a $100 tune-up should have $100 worth of parts equated to that. If you're doing the high labor and lower part sales, you aren't upselling the consumables, tires, chains, pads, that the bike actually needs. Okay, I've been in shops that did this horribly. Like horribly. Like the chain was partially stretched out. Boom, new chain. Oh, you need a cassette too. Not knowing that they needed a cassette or not. They just, they're relying there on your expertise, and those service riders are 80% just flow-boating upsells. You can do it in a way, it may not be 1-to-1, but you actually have a better outcome with the customer, because guess what? A customer's going to come back, and sometimes they come back with multiple bikes. So, in any case, and also you're already fighting against the Amazon discounts out there on everything. So, keep in mind that, a chain, as a mechanic, there's a wear point, and you don't inflate or exaggerate. Just do what it desperately needs done, for sure. There should be enough on there, especially if it's been used quite a bit. But always try to keep the honest to the point, because when you put a service rider that base their salary on commission of upselling parts, is really not a good outcome for the customer experience. So try to work around that somehow. Don't do it as an individual. I went to a couple of restaurants. One restaurant that had tips specific to service, individual, and then I had a restaurant we go to that has a pool tipping system. So everybody gets pooled tipped for doing those wages and so forth. Kind of like the Starbucks thing. And I tell you what, the service, the attention to detail, the customer interaction at that one restaurant is much more superior over the other, that we hardly ever go to the other. Yeah, it kind of stings, but it has to be done. Especially going into the season when there's going to be a lot of repairs and so forth. Don't overdo it. I mean, however you need to do it in your shop. If you're a consumer and you go in and you feel like you just got reeked over the coal with a whole bunch of parts that you may not even know that you may need it or not needed. If you're a new customer to them, that's going to be hard for them, for that person to go back to that shop. You want them to come back like, oh, I got a really good deal that they took care of me, that kind of thing, versus the other. So build your service department infrastructure for making money in a more positive outcome for your consumer. for the riders. Tiered service menu. Do you have a premium tier overhaul price? $300 should account for at least 10 to 15% of service mixed boots average transactions. ATV. Oh my God, this put me back in corporate days. ATVs, average transaction value. Oh my God, it's there. It's painful. You got to do it ish. Yeah, I get a lot of tune-ups that only have like the bottom tier individuals. But that's where your opportunity, that if it needs a drivetrain clean and that's your next tier up, that's the opportunity you can talk to the customer to talk about it. And they feel like they're getting the value of it. And you can tell them other stuff. If you work those values and give them the values to the customer that they feel really good about what they're paying and what they're getting out of it, and maybe some little extra service that's just like, oh yeah, noted. I mean, you put that on the trend, you're like, oh, re-wrapped bars, $25, but zero net. So they're seeing the value. I have on my receipts now, you save this X amount, and I try to hit, this is my goal. Instead of trying to hit how many units, transactions, I'm trying to hit how much discount I can hit off of the actual transaction. At least 10 to 20%. Okay, this sounds weird, right? But think about it this way as consumer facing forward. I got a tune-up, I put that down, I committed to a $100 tune-up. All right. I went in, it's like, yeah, you need a new chain, this, that, and the other, a couple other things, a couple parts. So they're there. Okay. So the tune-up didn't include installing the chain or some other bits and so forth. I line item all those little extra bits that I'm legitimately doing, that's not part of the tune-up, that I do extra because I go back to my dad's philosophy is like, we'll charge you twice next time as a joke. But the idea is I want you to come back twice. So if I have a $200 ticket, right, with the parts and everything, and they see a savings of extra value of work or discounted parts that equate to $75 to $100 off, that's legit. Don't they think you're going to be, oh, this is great. For me, fortunately, I can do that because my overhead is a lot lower. When they take the same bike to the corporate store, that $300 charge is now $700 to $800. And guess what? They're most likely never going to go back to that shop, only for warranty work. So keep that in mind. So you can build up your service department to be very profitable, but legitimately profitable, and you're building your community, which you would get more service out of it at the end of the day. Think about every customer, every bike you're working on as an opportunity of bringing in 2+ of either the same person or you like did great work and like word of mouth, free advertisement. Oh yeah, you need to talk to somebody. Talking about that, Scott in the chat right there is probably brought in, I don't know, 15 more customers that have repeated too on top of that. In the last 3 to 5 years, I've known Scott, 3 years since I worked on his bike first time. I mean, you can do it right and still not do it that way. Like the paperwork from Business 101 class, because Business 101 sometimes, maybe a lot of times, does not translate to the bike industry retail. That's a whole different beast, whole different perspective, whole bunch of expectations. And you always want to put yourself and your shop as a win-win every single time. Not backtracking like, oh, I'm sorry, we felt like you got gouged, let me give you a discount. You know, that's like going in, it's like, okay, sorry, we screwed up your burger, here's some fries. Like they're still going to think you're going to constantly screw up their burger from here on out. You think of the same thing about their bike? Absolutely. Ooh, I'm getting heated on this, I'm sorry. I just remember working at one shop and it just really totally ticked me off. And it put me in a scenario where I felt dirty. Like at the end of the shift, I'm like, I feel like I'm just taking advantage of people. Like, oh, I don't know. I don't like that. It's horrible. Okay, part three. I know this is taking a long time to get to, and I know this extended it over, but I think this is very important for a lot of us, and even myself, to rethink these things and going forward. Because right now is the only time we're going to have a hot minute. Well, maybe I'm kind of busy right now, but a hot minute to reevaluate where we're going to go forward, or the opportunity to readjust for the next season for pricing and so forth has to happen now. Those conversations have to happen now. Part three: future-proofing your audit. Future-proofing audit. Okay, here goes back to the thing. Okay, e-bike certifications audit. Whatever training and certifications, you got to get your staff up and ready to go for the next season. You know, I don't work on e-bikes. That is a slow death. For me, it could be, but I'm going a different direction. But a lot of shops, you got to do a little bit more on that and be a little more precise and not alienating customers too, because there's a lot of bikes out there that shouldn't be worked on, that are actually dangerous. Case in point, the Rad sports battery issues and some other things are going on circulating. It's a tricky bit, and you got to be able to navigate that in a really good way. So think about ways of try to navigating that without alienating customers, giving them an opportunity for safety and all that kind of things. Be the winner in this. Don't be the wiener. Okay, subscription revenue. Oh, interesting. That's an interesting part. That's if you're a subscription type based bike shop. I've only known a couple that are like club members. You get a better rate and all that kind of thing. I'm going to translate that to team discounts. I went in one shop, started working for them. They're so aggressively trying to take out another shop that they acquired every freaking team and gave every freaking team a discount. Majority of the customers that are coming in were getting a discount. That's taking your margins and cutting it by 10 to 20% off of every transaction, including labor, and also fast tracking their labor parts, whatever commit. It was like so dumb, compounded on top of dumb. The staff was just like, this is ridiculous. I had a hard conversation with them, like a hard, cold conversation. It was like, at the end of the season, I'm like, okay, they get a little like 5%, 3% discount on accessories. Nothing off of labor, no front line thing. Only people that get discounts is the 2 team leaders from each one of those organizations. That's it. And they had a much more profitable year after that. Because people just would join a team just to get the discount. And they would say they do a race or whatever, and maybe just go for a bike ride or 2 club rides. And, you know, it was so flooded. It was the marketing that did not do anything. And especially since the other shop went out of business. So it's like they were just eating themselves, like the snake thing. This is nuts. And okay, the last bit of part 3 is inventory. Oh, the word. Tubes, tires, what's going to be at hand. You got to really look at what last year is, not the year before that, because you're going to have more of a spike of chains and tires and tubes and all those consumables in the last year because you've had a lot more service. That's if you had a shop that way. And you got to readjust that. And you got to also readjust what your vendors have on hand and make sure they are inventorying it until you need it, especially on items that you know you're not going to sell a lot of. It's one to show, one to go, people. That's it. And you don't want to be narrow and deep on your inventory. It doesn't, if it runs out, it runs out. You leverage your labor, you leverage swapping, and you got to reduce your inventory. They have inventory, it's coming in, it might come at a little bit pricier, but that higher price, you roll to the customer. Don't worry about it. You're not here to be the discount bike shop for parts and accessories. Those individuals standing in the store looking at their bike that needs a new chain, they're not going to squabble over a $10 difference on a chain when they get it on sale because you have it on hand on the floor. That's the thing. So you already lost that game. So you want to make sure You got what you need, and what you know you're going to sell, and that's it. And I'm sorry, those sales reps are going to be crying. Those vendors are going to be completely complaining. You may not hit that upper tier to get a discount, but the cost of the upper tier will cost your business. Been there, done that. Boom, went out of business in 6 months. Got to be careful with that. That's a story for another time. In any case, summary metrics of 2026, the target contribution of margins. Your service department should be aimed about 85 to 90% of contributing margin. That's a pretty good chunk. Labor and parts margin minus tech pay. If you're below 60%, your service department is likely subsidizing your retail floor rather than making you a profit. So a lot of bike shops have jockeyed themselves over the years to rely more on their sales on the sales floor to manage their business. And they are now reflecting on what the hell their service department needs to contribute to make sure they're sustainable, basically paying rent. Because it's a heavier cost. So therefore, all the things that we talked about will help you bolster, make a better profit, a healthier profit for your service department to sustain going in through 2026. Like I mentioned before, you got 3 pillars that's going to save your butt going through 2026. You either got in the e-bike game, and you got to really navigate that, be a win-win on that one, or you got to get into used. Used bikes and parts are going to make a lot more margin there than there is in new, especially coming in. So you have a lot of opportunity there. And number 3, you got to refine your service department to a well-oiled machine to a point where it's also putting those service techs in a best position possible. Getting time off, getting decent pay, having time to work on repairs. Don't want to have a lose-lose situation. We just talked about a couple of those things that really help your departments out. Hopefully the service departments, if you're a customer going in, will have evaluated this so you have the best experience possible. That's my takeaway from my 35 years of experience of working in multiple bike shop settings from small to large. So in any case, and also a big box store. Whoa, I got serious. Oh, let's shake that off. Serious as a heart attack. Let's go back to the chat and see who's left before I sign off. All right. Okay, we left over there. Okay, heavy metal cycles. They do pickup drop-offs. Actually, a great idea. Like dry cleaning, anything that makes you a convenience. Yeah, pickup drop-off. But if you can tie that in on a pickup a couple used bikes in those particular areas, you can time out. It's all appointment based. If you do it that way, it will pay for itself. I guarantee you. Throw some perks. It's the best and cheapest advertisement you can get. Absolutely. If your customer feels like they've got the best treatment possible by a human being and being treated like a human being, and basically their ride has been given all the proactive, preventative maintenance tune-up without paying a whole bunch of money, it's huge. And you give them the experience that lasts a long time. Even though you're not getting that tune-up every year, you may get some little bit of service work here and there, but most likely they have multiple bikes. And if not, they have at least multiple friends that maybe ride with them, where there you get, that's the advertisement pitch there. The grassroots pitch of the 90s of doing that kind of stuff really resonates with people today. Because they're looking for people that they can entrust with their sanity. And their sanity is riding their bike. And the less problems they have with shifting or flats or any of that other stuff, which some of it we can't control, but some of it we can be preventative, as a thinking it through mechanic and not waiting for you to come back for another repair, setting up for failure is horrible. So looking for that opportunities is a huge gold nugget. And actually that makes you feel better as a mechanic because like, hey, Scott, your bike lasted like 3 years without doing the whole full thing? Man, that's awesome. I mean, that just shows how well I did a job on that bike, which is a feather in my hat. Like, man, I did a really good job on that one, which I'm compounding that, trying to do that with every repair that I go forward to have the same result. It's an uplifting experience for somebody that works on something and has a very huge positive outcome from it. It goes both ways. Happy customer, happy mechanic, happy service, more than happy to pay for it. That's great. It's a win-win-win. In any case, woo! I got sit down and dirty. Yeah, it's all about repeat customers. I've had huge success with that years past, but doing it all under my own doing. I'm always the one that gets in my own way on a lot of things. Slower to go out of the gate. But at the end of the day, I feel good at what I do. I feel positive about it. I'm not cutting corners. I take the extra time when need be, making sure the customer, because, for them, it's their experience. And in times like this, where a lot of people are relying on their bikes for either commuting or for just, getting out of their head, a lot of stresses are going on. And if you give them an opportunity to have an outlet and be able to ride and just stop thinking about everything that's going on in their life right now, it's huge. It's a very, those who all know are in here, have done riding, know that you go on a bike ride, you're disconnecting from all the BS that's going on in your life that you're being subjected to, and it gives you a couple minutes to get back to yourself. And that's, a huge therapeutic way. Also giving yourself a little better, life. You feel better. All those things. You're a little bit healthier. I revert to Kurt. He got into riding when he retired. He bought a bike for me and started riding. And when he had a heart attack, it was very minimal. He didn't die from it like my dad did. So it's huge. I mean, if my dad did a little more riding, had a little less stress, maybe he'd still be with us today. I mean, you can't live on what ifs or has-beens or all those things, but just imagine if you did a tune-up and they got into riding, they really enjoy riding, and they didn't die from something of that element. And it's huge. Not that I'm saying that I saved Kurt's life, but he's the one that did it. He did the work, of course. But I gave him the opportunity and the tools to do so. Not to say that was, maybe it was genetics or whatever, but it didn't hurt, so any case. One of those things. Think about it. You're part of the cog of everything, and either you're going to be, are you part of the solution or are you part of the problem? And cycling industry is in a weird place. Bike shops are doing everything they can. It's something that we love to do. That's why we're here. We know we're not going to make a lot of money, but we're here for a purpose. We enjoy doing it. This is our thing. And for all those who are out there doing it and doing it right, thumbs up to you. In any case. Let's see here. Throw in some perks. Susan was definitely talking about the service part of that. Yeah, throwing some perks. That was the cheapest advertisement for sure. Oh, that's a good one. Thanks, Susan, for sharing that. My father always said, people don't care what you know until they know what you care. Pretty clean and simple. Well, people, that's my time. I gotta get some lunch and check my daughter. She's still out from school, so gotta deal with that. And thanks for hanging out with me. It takes you to make this channel, so I appreciate you. Please like and subscribe if you like content like this. And tomorrow, it's my birthday, so gonna go for a ride, maybe some bowling, go out to eat, try to not get too big. But yeah, I'm gonna have take a day off and just have some good time with the family and so forth, and do some fun things. And hey, 55 laps, double nickels. Doing pretty good. Feeling pretty good. Yeah, so looking forward on Friday, Freak Out Friday. So we'll be talking to you on Friday if you join in on that. If not, we'll see you next Tuesday. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I do have some affiliates for the Bicycle Wheel Warehouse if you're looking for refreshing your ride for wheels, and Vital Bike Chains is a great source for pre-wax chains so you don't avoid the mess that you just saw if you're watching on that. So those are my two big ones. I also have Amazon store too, so whatever you do there helps me out as well. In any case, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'm going to go through the chat real quick and call out all those. Ryan in Denver, thank you for your comments and so forth. Appreciate you chiming in. Susan from North, that means Canada from my perspective. Thank you for joining. I hope your shop is doing well, getting in the swing of things, getting winter activities and so forth. Heavy Metal Cycles, thank you for chiming in. He's down in Texas, I believe. GPAS shop out, and I believe you're in New York. Thank you for chiming in and being part of our chat. Scott, my local big fan customer, celebrity customer. We have a video of him. He has a cool story for sure. Check it out. And let's see here. Pretty active chat today. Thank you for all for chiming in. Patrick Washburn, you were one of the first ones to start a chat. Thanks for chatting, and also a little compensation on one of the videos. So I hope everything worked out for you. Answer your questions, so forth. Levi Gaswint, 4500. Thank you for chiming in. Hopefully, if you're still on the chat. C Wit, 483. Thank you for your comments as well. From Minnesota, of all places. Hopefully you're staying warm. And that reminds me, Minnesota is where Park Tool, that's where Calvin would be living. Hopefully he's retiring to somewhere warmer. Oh, Joe Channel. Thanks again. We're going to watch some interesting old coot doing his thing. Joe Channel. Not to say anything negative about that. Sorry. He builds paddles, but he's an avid cyclist, and his winter stories are just phenomenal. They're great. And he's also building a shop out of his basement, so watch his little journey. That's awesome. Well, thanks again for all of you for hanging out. I hope it's great in your neck of the woods. If it is, please go for a ride. And until next time, I will be another year older. And see you again. And please like and subscribe if you like stuff like this. And until next time, have a wonderful day. Sounds like the UPS truck just gone by. Whew. Man, such a nice bike. Sweet. All right, lunchtime.